Hello and welcome to this edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm James Milan, in for Paul Werlin. At Arlington Public News, we bring you stories of interest to Arlington and surrounding communities. In tonight's newscast, Arlington schools start carrying Narcan as a precaution in case of an opioid overdose. And new parking kiosks come to the town center.
Plus, a young girl shows firefighters what she's learned about smoke and fire safety. That and more. Please stay with us.
Arlington schools are sending officials for training in the use of Narcan, the drug that can prevent death from an opioid overdose. Superintendent Kathleen Bodie tells APN that this is a precautionary move by the school system that signals that they, quote, take very seriously the epidemic of opioid addiction in our area and around the country, end quote. Arlington's high school and middle school nurse began training in the administration of Narcan this week, joining several other school officials from the area in a program offered through Middlesex County DA Marion Ryan's office.
On November 3rd, school nurses and athletic personnel from across the county gathered at the Middlesex District Attorney's office to learn how to administer Narcan, medication used to reverse the effects of opioid overdoses.
I think we have about 15 or 18 schools that have sent folks here today.
Who will be administered this in the school?
Well, those folks who are here being trained, nurses, athletic directors, coaches, whoever may be, we've got a couple of assistant principals, whoever's here today.
And so we also wondered, were there cases before? Why do we need the Narcan right now in the schools?
Well, I think because we all know unfortunately, the number of overdoses is growing across the country. Narcan is a safe way to reverse the effects of an overdose. It saves people's lives. It is not treatment, it's not prevention, but it is an immediate intervention that can save lives. And, what our hope is that when we're able to do that, that gives a person another day to be able to seek treatment and start addressing their addiction.
Dr. Daniel Mills was invited to lead a tutorial on the use of Narcan. He addressed the function of Narcan and the importance to the school community of preventive education.
If you give it to an narcotic overdose, they will respond to it. Not only will they respond to it, they'll start breathing again on their own. If you give it to something that is not an overdose, it has no effect. It is the equivalent of shooting saline up their nose. And the impact that you have on the kids, who knows them better? Who can make a difference? And we have to educate the kids, we have to educate the teachers, we have to work with the coaches so that they understand the risk. It's preventing it. If we do not get it off the streets, if we do not change how we perceive use of narcotics, then this problem isn't going away.
A school nurse from Arlington was there for the training and acknowledged its importance in enabling her to share this essential information with her school community.
I think this is a great addition to our emergency protocols that we already have in place with standing orders with epinephrine, with our life-threatening allergies. It's a good resource to know that we have in the event that we would need to use it. We have it and we can give somebody a second chance. Yeah, we are in rollout, being able to get the training, then turn around, educate more in the community, in the schools, so that everybody has the knowledge and the awareness that it's there.
For parents, teachers, you have to be well aware that something could be happening. Don't try to convince yourself it's something else. If it is, great, but if you think your kid has an addiction, you better make sure that that's not the case before you try to say, well, it's just his age or his behavior.
According to Arlington School Superintendent Kathleen Bodie, Narcan has not been used in Arlington schools. However, the school resource officer and nurses have been trained in the administration of Narcan, as, according to Dr. Bodie, the school system, quote, moves forward in being prepared to offer this life-saving drug should the need ever arise. For more information about the proper use of Narcan, please go to the APN website for full coverage of the training section. For Arlington Public News, I'm Koala Shea.
And in another avenue to help combat the opioid crisis, recovering addicts offered their ideas on how to provide more help for those struggling with the addiction during a recent panel discussion. APN News intern Gabby Kula has more.
Middlesex District Attorney Marian Ryan is reaching out to recovering opiate users. On October 23rd, she moderated a panel discussion at Lawrence Memorial Hospital in Medford to highlight ways to combat the growing opioid crisis.
The numbers are trending in the wrong direction. So while we are continuing all of our programs on the ground, we're really trying to develop some new policies, take this to a different level. And that's what we're trying to do here today.
Panelists included recovery specialists, those from the medical field, a district court representative, and former addicts, all offering their expertise on how to help addicts and identify solutions.
I think that to deal with the problem of substance abuse disorder in our society, the first thing that needs to happen is that we need to raise awareness. And in raising awareness, we need to reduce the stigma of addiction.
Ask for help. Don't give up. I always say to my patients, you need two things, willingness and courage. Those two things and resources, it can be done.
In the audience were people such as Richard Winnett, who is the president of Massachusetts Association of Sober Housing and is trying to create legislative change for long-term recovery programs.
We've been working with the State Department of Health on an initiative called the Sober House Certification Initiative, and that looks like it's getting rolled out in the coming months, where there will be a inspection and certification process. It is voluntary in nature, but if houses don't participate, they won't be allowed to accept anyone with any court conditions.
The district attorney stressed that legislation is only one of the parts that are necessary to form a solution.
We have really focused our multi-pronged approach on a variety of fronts. It includes education, intervention, prevention, treatment, legislation, and law enforcement.
The panel focused on educating the audience on how opioid addiction can affect anyone and everyone.
I want to say that substance abuse disorder does not discriminate. It could be, your siblings, your children. I grew up in a middle-class household. I'm college educated. I was a graduate student at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology when I was sent to prison for crimes that were a result of my drug use. So no one is immune from this disease, and there is treatment out there.
I think a lot of people imagine an opiate addict in an alleyway, homeless, dirty, with a needle in their arm, and that's not quite exactly what they look like. They look exactly like me. And people do recover, they get better, and they have a long, happy life, and I'm productive today, and I work as a nurse, and I love my life. Things can change.
For Arlington Public News, I'm Gabriella Kula.
That's kind of a scary piece there, Carla, because it's such an invisible phenomenon.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I did some work at Right Turn when they first opened here in the center, and I'll tell you, it is surprising. It's your sister's friends. It's another mother that looks just like you. It was really an eye-opener for me, and it's very sad that it's come to this.
I do appreciate the various initiatives that the Arlington Police Department and our county government also have been taking. So let's hope for the best.
I think if everybody comes together, it will get better, but it's going to take everyone. New high-tech parking kiosks are up and running in Arlington's town lots. Town manager Adam Chapdelaine tells APN the kiosks and soon-to-come meters on Massachusetts Avenue are part of an overall plan to increase the availability of spots in the town center. APN Koala Shea has more.
New parking kiosks are in effect in Arlington's two public parking lots, the Russell Common Lot by St. Agnes Church and the Revel Lot along the bike path in the town center. Town manager Adam Chadlin tells APN users will find the high-tech kiosks much easier to use than the ones before.
We have two kiosks in this lot that we're in right now, the railroad lot. We have three kiosks in the Russell Common Lot, and that's actually an additional one from what had been there prior. There had only been two there, now there's three to make it more easy to use for people parking there. We'll be putting individual parking meters on the street within the next 6 months or so. The kiosks that had been in the parking lots were outdated. They weren't working very well. They were causing a lot of frustrations for people who are coming to park to use this part of the center or the center behind the Russell Common Lot or in front of the Russell Common Lot. But more globally, we in the last year put together a parking management study for Arlington Center, and that's going to involve putting meters on the street and having these meters in the lots. So both the need to just replace them in general and the need to have new, higher functioning meters to be part of the larger plan is why we're putting these new, or have put in these new kiosks.
So what will be the cost for parking for the residents right now in these two lots?
So in these lots, it will be 50 cents an hour for as many hours as you need to park. And the metering will start at 8 a.m. and end at 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with no charging on Sunday. In the past, it had been 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 50 cents an hour, but you were limited to parking for 3 hours. So the big change is really that you're able to now park for an unlimited amount of hours. You just have to pay for those hours.
What would you expect to see the effects for those new changes to the town?
So what we're really hoping to accomplish overall is once we have the meters on the street, we see street parking as premium parking. You know, you're right in front of the business that you need to go to or close to the business, whereas the lot parking is sub-premium parking or could even be longer-term parking. So the overall goal is to price parking on the street at $1 an hour to incentivize people to park in the lots if they're going to be there for a longer amount of time, so that we have more availability and turnover at the spots on the street, which would be beneficial to business.
In terms of generating revenues from the new kiosks, the town manager says they will be used to reinvest the Arlington Center Business District.
Right now, we've been collecting from the meters that were here before, and that is used as just a general revenue to support the operation of government. So as we go forward, we want to make sure that we maintain that level of revenue to support the already existing operating budgets in the town. But we also want to have money that we can set aside for making improvements to the area in what's called a parking benefit district. So the big new feature of these kiosks compared to the old kiosks is that they will accept credit card payment. The prior kiosks would only accept coin and cash. The prior meters had all been connected to a power source. These 5 new meters are all completely solar powered. So they're completely independent, and you can actually see the solar panel on the top of the unit. We re-engineered where each of these kiosks is located. We hope to make it easier and safer for people to access them. In some areas, the prior kiosks were in the travel lane where cars would be coming and going, and that wasn't the best location.
To know more information about these new kiosks, please check out the website of Town of Arlington. For Arlington Public News, I'm Koala Ship.
The Arlington Police Department has been using bicycles for the past several years as a way to more easily interact with the community while helping to protect it. The addition of an electric motor to at least one bike has provided extra zip and given new meaning to the term police cruiser. I recently tagged along with one officer as he made his rounds. We are here on a beautiful fall morning with Officer TJ Kelly, who is going to be taking us on a tour of a portion of the bike path at least, and the streets of Arlington, as he does regularly on his bike. TJ, thanks so much.
No, not a problem.
For letting us join you today.
Absolutely.
And appreciate your work on making it a beautiful day as well.
Right, I did what I could.
This is going to be fun.
So one of the first things I want to ask you about is your bike itself. It certainly doesn't look like the bike I'm riding now or any bike I've ever ridden before.
So the police department has one of these Polaris. It's a motorized assisted bike, and it's got a battery on board, and it'll assist you in pedaling. Specifically, if you're going up a hill, you can set different levels of assist to make pedaling a little bit more easy. Or
how much do you find that you actually access that?
We utilize the assist if we were going to a call, and that way it just prevents you from kind of being gassed by the time you get there.
Mm-hmm.
You can still perform, and you have a little energy, and the bike gives us an opportunity to get out on the bike path, obviously where you're not going to bring a car in the middle of the day. You know, the public knows that we're out here. It's visibility. It gives them a sense of security, and it also gives us an opportunity to kind of embrace the community policing aspect of the job of being a police officer. It's a break from being in the car. It gives you an opportunity to get out, talk with people. So this just is an 8-hour shift of getting to know people and talking to people and letting the community know that we're in fact interested in their safety, and you know, we want them to know that we're out there for them. I think that being down here is important, again, especially when it's a little bit crowded, and even not. Later in the evening, you know, people do use the bike path to walk home from work, and you know, I think it's important that people, again, have that sense of safety and know that there is somebody out, you know, watching over them, or, you know, here to assist if they need that help. The most important part is that it's fun. It's an opportunity to get out and do some of the community policing when it comes to this job. Obviously, with the atmosphere right now in policing, it's good to get out and just kind of humanize everything, and just like I said, the most important thing is talk to people and let people know that it really is just a team effort. It's not the police department versus the community. It's the police department working with the community to solve problems.
All right, we are wrapped up this lovely ride. Thanks very much, TJ, for letting us join you. We'll see you on the road.
Thank you.
For Arlington Public News, I'm James Milan. Thanks for joining us.
According to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with the disease in their lifetime. Breast Cancer Awareness Month was this past October, and APN spoke with a representative of the Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition about toxic exposure as one of the possible causes of breast cancer.
Breast cancer is the second most commonly developed cancer among women in the United States. Every year, October honors the disease as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I spoke to Cheryl Osimo of the Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition to find out about the organization's initiatives for this year.
I'm proud to tell you that the Mass Breast Cancer Coalition has a new tool to empower health professionals and patients in the effort to reduce toxic exposures. The Mass Breast Cancer Coalition has been helping to facilitate the discussion between health professionals and patients about the reduction of toxic exposures. And this wonderful tour, Let's Talk Prevention, Reducing Toxic Exposures, is an educational program, and it's really designed to increase discussions about environmental exposures and chemicals of concern. And, of course, many chemicals of concern are industrial chemicals that do not stay isolated inside factories. So minimizing exposures to chemicals linked with negative health impacts can lessen the burden of disease and improve public health.
Millions of lives are affected every day as approximately 1 in 8 American women will develop the disease over the course of her lifetime. For Arlington Public News, I'm Erica Matera-Benoon.
Well, this story has a very personal connection for me. I don't know if you're aware, James, but I am a 6-year survivor this past October of breast cancer myself.
Oh, that is wonderful news.
It is great news, for sure. But again, like the story, I had there was no family history at all. So you do wonder, where do these things come from? How do they pop up and affect all of us?
Well, what matters right now is that it seems to have gone somewhere as well. And
Somewhere
that's where
else,
we hope
thank
it will
you.
stay. Yes.
Into the ground, not bothering anyone else. Thank you. The Arlington Fire Department has been getting the word out on fire prevention tips, and the schools are no exception. Their fire safety talks presented to elementary school children so energized one little girl, she decided to make a video about what she learned.
Firefighters and their presentations in classrooms can make a large impact on young children. Kindergartner Molly proved this to be true when she came home after a demonstration and recited everything she had learned about fire safety.
If you're in the basement, you find an entrance in the basement and go out that way.
I spoke with firefighter Kevin Burns, the Assistant Safe Coordinator, to learn more about the program and its impact on children.
SAFE is a student awareness fire education. So basically what the state program is, it just gives education basically for the fire community, just to go into the schools to educate the kids basically just the stuff that they should do, that the basic stuff that can help them in such events of an emergency or a fire or medical.
And what age group is the program aged at?
For the schools, we have basically from kindergarten to 5th grade. The SAFE program and it all has also started to get into the elder services, but for this program, we focus on the school-age kids.
Can you tell me some specific fire tips that people tend to ignore?
A lot of people forget to, change their batteries every 6 months. Always make sure your extinguishers are, in the right places, in the kitchen and stuff like that. Make sure that they're, fully charged and up to date. As far as an exit plan like we have with the schools where the students go out in a certain way and meet at a certain point, it's always good to have that type of stuff at home too, so that everyone can be accounted for.
I also spoke with Molly and her mom Katie to talk about their experience with the program.
It clearly shows that it was a great program. I was pretty impressed that she's only in kindergarten and she was able to come home and basically word for word reiterate what they taught her. clearly they made a big impression on the kids and they all listened.
What are you supposed to do if you see smoke on the ceiling?
Duck down and crawl.
And can you tell me what the firefighters did to show you what would happen if there's a fire?
Put on their suit.
Yeah? And what did they look like?
They looked like people in costumes.
Can you teach me some of what you learned?
If the fireman says to come towards them, you need to come towards them. Firemen at first put on their suit. They look a little scary, so you need to not hide.
What do you think the Arlington Fire Department should continue to do or should begin to do to continue to better spread knowledge about fire safety?
I just think they should continue with the SAFE program in the schools. Clearly, if they need funding, whatever it is, they should continue with it because it's teaching our kids a lot. And coming home from kindergarten with the knowledge that she had was pretty impressive to me. I didn't even know this program was coming into the school. So we were surprised when she came home, and clearly it's a really good program for our kids.
Fire prevention and safety is something that everyone of all ages should know. Firefighter Burns told me a good trick is to change the fire alarm batteries with the change of the clocks. So go out today to get your fresh batteries if you have not already. For Arlington Public News, I'm Erica Matera-Banoon.
This week in sports, we have the latest highlights from Arlington High School field hockey, Arlington Catholic football, and the Arlington Belmont crew team. And we want to give a special shout out to the Arlington High School girls soccer and volleyball teams who just very recently completed their opening victories in the state playoffs. Congratulations, girls.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil Arcaro with your Arlington Sports Spotlight. As the leaves change and the days get shorter, most AHS and Arlington Catholic High School sports teams are wrapping up their seasons. On Friday, October 23rd, the Arlington High School field hockey team lost to Winchester by the score of 3-0. Also on Friday, the Arlington Catholic football team ended their regular season in the Catholic Conference when they hosted Archbishop Williams. While the Cougars would try and make a comeback in the second half, AC would fall to the Bishops by the score of 42-27. Here's Scott Zwick and Rob Anthony with the highlights.
This is Scott Zwick alongside my partner Rob Anthony. On Friday, October 23rd, Archbishop Williams held off a furious second-half run by the Arlington Catholic Cougars to win 42-27. Rob, it was a big second half for Arlington Catholic.
Yeah, there was a lot of scoring in this ball game, Scott. At halftime, it was 26-6, and just before the half, we had a big hit by Grishani Graves' Cribs that kind of turned the tide and turned the momentum back to the Cougars. In the second half, the Cougars began the scoring with an 18-yard pass play from Rosati to Burton, who had a big game. And then we saw Rosati with his second touchdown of the ball game to Jack Ryan, and the third touchdown of the ball game from Rosati to Ryan made it 34-27 with 3 minutes left. And the Bishops put it away with a 25-yard run by Casey Earl. But a furious comeback by the Cougars pulled up just short.
We'll see the Arlington Catholic Cougars again on Thanksgiving when they face Arlington High School in the annual Turkey Day Classic here live on ACMi. And that's Sports Spotlight. For Rob Anthony, I'm Scott Zwick. We'll see you soon.
The Arlington Belmont crew team repeated as fall state champions last week, winning their third consecutive title. With 11 minutes and 57 seconds, the team of Julian Green, Dylan Ryan, Lewis Pratt, Adrian Trainer, Ryan Sass, Owen Niles, Trevor Corning, Brendan Mooney, and Adam Cronin beat rival Weston Wayland to bring home their 5th trophy in a row. The boys' 8B team took second place, and the C team took first. The girls' team took home second place with a time of 14 minutes and 1 second. The team consisting of Laura Schoonmaker, Jess Keniston, Melissa Baskas Chamberlain, Bridget Kajina, Lena Medelman, Abby Judge, Olga Bravova, Emma Gaharbian, and Elena Jager took home medals with the second highest point team total in the race. The varsity B boat took third with a time of 15 minutes and 19 seconds. Congrats to them and the many others that took part. That's all for this week. I'm Phil Arcaro, and that was your Arlington Sports Spotlight.
And finally, in tonight's newscast, we take a closer look at what goes into setting the course for the head of the Charles Regatta. A lot is involved, and APN News intern Gabby Kula was there to capture it all.
I think I've been working on the course for about 20 years. I'm not sure, I can't even remember exactly when I first started. We have rowers from all over the world, as I said, and we have Olympic crews that are here, and we've got people who've never raced before who are here. Lots of high schoolers. That's why the course. So one of the challenges of putting the course out is that you're guiding the crews over the course. That basically from the start to the finish, they've got the buoys and they're showing them where the course is, and the coxswains and the rowers have to figure out how to stay on the course. But for the novices, it's important for their own safety to kind of keep them in a safe part of the water. There are 450 buoys, I think, that are just on the course itself, and then there are a bunch of other buoys that are marking hazards along the way. For example, you've got crews that are rowing down to the start, and so they have to follow the shoreline, and sometimes there are some places where there's some rocks. We've got a lot of rowers here who've never really been on the Charles before. People are coming from all over the world to row here, and so when they get on the water, we have to make sure they know where the hazards are and protect also the safety of the rowers by keeping them from running, from perhaps wandering out onto the course, and obviously that would be a dangerous situation and would ruin some racing for some people. So it's all like kind of to maintain the traffic patterns and so on. The buoys become really important. It's fun. It's a lot of work. It's exhausting actually, but at the same time, this morning, for example, we were out there right at sunrise. We got out on the water about 6:30 and it was dark and cold, and I'm asking myself that same question: why am I doing this year after year? But it's beautiful. There's nobody out on the water at that point. You can see the regatta kind of coming to life every Saturday and Sunday morning as we're checking the course, and we got the river to ourselves, and then the sun is rising as we're checking the course, and it's really beautiful.
I really like stories like that because I've been to the head of the Charles on a number of occasions to watch. But you just never think about how much goes into just setting up for us to be able to enjoy what's happening in front of us as spectators.
I think with all of these events, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes, and for everybody involved, including the athletes.
I am grateful to them. And I also do want to just make a special congratulations to our girls soccer team. I'm a big fan, and I hope that they go a long, long way.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us this week to discuss local events and issues around Arlington. Check out our latest segments on the web at news.acmi.tv, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Arlington Public.
Please join us next time for another edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm James Milan. We'll see you next time.